notification.
All right, everybody, welcome to NASCAR by the Numbers. I am your host, Joe, filling in for Will, NASCAR Opinion. He is out today. Alongside of me, I have Velocity, known as Armani. Armani, welcome.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of NASCAR by the Numbers. As Joe said, he's subbing in for Will today. My man Will, he's going to college basketball. He's gone to the other side. He's betrayed us NASCAR fans, so make sure to publicly shame him back on Twitter. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing with you,
Yeah, Twitter will be lighting up
man.
anyways
I'm
today,
just,
especially during this race that we have for the NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, round 4 of 36. That's at Phoenix, the Fanshield 500. It's the first 500-kilometer race of the year. So, comment section, go down below, sound off on this event. We'd like to hear what you guys have to say. So, before we get any further, let's talk about what happened last week in Fontana, California for the Auto Club 400. So, race 3 began after a very eventful first 2 races at Daytona and Las Vegas. Watching Joey Logano win for the second time in a row in Vegas, was able to win for the first time at Auto Club and redeem from one of the most controversial races of his career 7 years ago in 2013? No. Was Jimmy Johnson the winningest driver at Auto Club in his final start, able to get the job done? Almost. But his teammate did. And that was Alex Bowman, number 88, getting his second career win in the NASCAR Cup Series. First in a 2-mile track. And first since Chicagoland of June 2019.
all right, so I'll explain. So, I'll take over here when it comes to Alex Bowman. So, yeah, Alex Bowman, the momentum carried from the end of Las Vegas clearly carried over to Fontana. Led 110 of 200 laps, won stage one, second in stage two, had the dominant car basically all race long. You can argue maybe him or Blaney; those two are basically the best cars all race long. Bowman, this was his best performance since when he suffered Dale Jr. back in Phoenix in 2016. So locks himself into the playoffs. If you were to tell me that Alex Bowman will lock himself into the playoffs before Chase Alley, before Jimmy Johnson, I probably think you're a little. I probably think you're, I probably wouldn't believe you 100%, but this is a huge win for Alex Bowman. He's in a contract year. Sponsorship has been, has really been the name of the game when it comes to his contract extension. So, and many people have said that, Alex Bowman, he's a solid driver. He's a very good driver. I mean, races like last week prove that. And I believe he's even starting in the top 10 at Phoenix. However, he's just not a man that can attract sponsors. He's not a guy like Clint Boy or Jimmy Johnson or Kyle Busch where sponsors are going to keep coming to them, coming to them. Alex Bowman isn't like that. So, but if Alex Bowman could at least prove himself on the racetrack like he did last week at Fontana, leading 110 out of 200 laps, I think he's setting himself up very good to stay in the Hendrick Motorsports camp next year.
Yeah, I think that was a statement-making win for Alex Bowman by far, leading over half the race and just having the car to beat. He was fast all weekend long in both practices, started third, and just held off the best out there. Ryan Blaney, who was probably the guy that could have won if the tire didn't go down, he had a manage for a 19th place finish and won stage 2, led 54 laps, but it just fell through. I mean, Ryan Blaney, this guy is the points leader right now. He's the only driver that has touched the crust of the trophy, but never was able to grasp it. Daytona, lost by inches. Vegas, bad pit stop, or bad call going in the pits. And Auto Club, tire going down. Something's got to change. And Ryan Blaney, his time will come. When? Sooner than later. But it's going to happen. And looks like he's the lead driver for Team Penske this year.
Yeah, Blaney's has been very, very strong this year. I mean, the crew chief change has really helped. Todd Gordon and him, they seem to be meshing really, really well. I'd say meshing well more than what Chad Knaus and William Byron are meshing this year. I mean, granted, Chad Knaus is a 7-time crew chief, but it's like even then, like they didn't really start meshing until around the summer. Whereas Ryan Blaney and Todd Gordon, they're coming right out of the gate, and they're I'm not gonna say they're putting up the results because like they finished outside the top 10 in both Vegas and Fontana, unfortunately, but they've had cars that they can win every single race at. They're starting top 5 here at Phoenix too, so keep an eye out on that 12 car. I think they are proving themselves to be the elite driver of Penske right now.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to go next now is William Byron. He's got exactly what it takes. I believe he's going to get the first win this year. I said it all the time on Twitter. So just hold by my word. He's going to win that race. It's going to come sometime soon. Just watch. All right. So that's it for Fontana. Now we're going to look at your favorite part of this video. That's the Jimmy tracker, tracking Jimmy Johnson and his final season, how he did and where he's at going into Phoenix.
All right, I'll take it over here. So my boy Jimmy Johnson. So Jimmy Johnson, he had a very, very good weekend at his home track of Fontana. He was fast in both practices. He qualified second. He was only 7/1000ths of a second away from starting on the pole for his final start at the track where he scored his first career win at. Finished third in both stages, I believe. Ran top 5 all race long. Kind of fell off a little bit towards the end. Didn't get the top 5 that he deserved, but a 7th place finish. Back-to-back top 10s, and he's currently sits P5 in the standings. The best where he's been at this point in the season since 2016. And remember, 2016, Jimmy Johnson, he won his 7th championship. So, if things go according to plan, we hopefully will see old 7-time in the Final Four to make it old 8-time, but Jimmy Johnson, very strong. He led laps at Fontana again. First time he led laps at Fontana since his final Fontana win in 2016. So Jimmy Johnson, he's coming strong right out of the gate. He really wants to go out on top. And, I think that's a lot to do with Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick Motorsports has just looked really strong so far this season. All their cars look like they're capable of winning week in and week out. William Byron was the only one that was kind of like, irrelevant last week. He's running around like 15th, 16th, basically the entire race. So, there might be some concern there, but so Jimmy Johnson, 5th in points, 2 top 10s in a row, should have been 2 top 5s in a row. You could argue he had a car that could win. That could have won last week. He had a car that could have won last week at Auto Club
because they swept the first 2 practices going into Phoenix. William Byron had his best lap time of 26.747 in practice 1, leading that session, and Chase was second in that one. And Chase Elliott had a lap time of 26.823, leading practice 2. And if you look at the weekend averages off both practices, right now it looks like Elliott's on the better end. And Chase Elliott's had close calls to victories here at Phoenix. If you go back to 2017, a championship impact situation, he was so close to winning. He had to win to get in, right? But then veteran Matt Kenseth passed him, and Kenseth would take the checker flag in what would appear to be his final win in the Cup Series. But with that said, Chase Elliott is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, so we'll go on. So, yeah, that was the Jimmy tracker. So we'll go on. Let's talk about moving on to Phoenix. Let's talk about what I believe is going to be the biggest, talking point going into this race. And that's the debut of I'm going to say quote unquote new aero package, because it's not 100% new, but it's the new aero package. Last year we had high downforce at every track. That includes the short tracks like Martinsville, Phoenix, Bristol, and probably besides Bristol, basically every track, all these short and road courses, they suffered in product because of it. So what did NASCAR do? They changed the package. They lowered the spoiler down to 2.75 inches, and they reduced the splitter down to, I believe, 2.5 inches, somewhere around there. So not exactly. It's a new package, but I think you're going to see racing very similar to what we saw back in 2018 and 2017. You're going to see a little bit more. The racing is going to be very much the same, but you're going to see drivers pass a lot easier. So what do you think we're going to expect going into this race at the former track known as ISM?
I think that Phoenix is going to see a lot of passing. We're going to comers and goers around here. Pit stops are going to be very important. You just need to be up in front of the restart. A lot of 3-4 wide action in the first few corners. I mean, the dog leg, now that since 2018, the start finish line has been on the dog leg. And, of course, since 2011, when the dog leg was taken from the grass, no more rumble strip, no more grass, cars were able to run a line down there. And now that it's on the front stretch, we've seen some of the craziest restarts in NASCAR history. And it's going to happen today at Phoenix. Expect a lot of action. You need to get up the gears as fast as you can.
All right, so restarts are probably going to be less crucial now than ever, in my opinion. Obviously, they're still going to be as crucial as ever. But like I said, I think we're going to see racing very similar to what we saw in 2018. 2018 Phoenix race, the fall Phoenix race where Kyle Busch won. It was a fairly decent race, in my opinion. So that's going to be like, if you want to know what this race is going to look like, that's probably your best bet. Obviously, like, the layout of the track is very much the same. They just move where the start-finish line is. But obviously, like you're going to have cars, in a restart, cutting down all the way to the pit lane, So also another question I have for you is, this is the first time since we went to New Hampshire back in 2001 where the track that hosts the season finale has 2 races per year now. So we're going to have a very good look. I think teams are going to use this race, especially because it's so early on in the season, to basically test the waters for what the championship race would look like when come the beginning of November. So, like, I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, how similar do you think, or do you think we're going to get a really good look at what the championship is going to look like when we head to Phoenix next year? Or do you think it's going to be just like, just a standard Phoenix race?
I'm 50-50 with that because you cannot define a champion on round 4 of the season. And why? Well, we're only 3 races down. Not even half the season's under our belts. Not even 1/4. We have so much to go through. I mean, you go a quarter through a season, that's round 9. That's Martinsville. We're not there yet. We're at Phoenix. But when it comes to the championship race in November, you can definitely factor in that this track will be a very important part on who wins this championship, because the Final 4 system is just as simple as it gets. The highest of those 4 drivers wins the title. And it's going to come down to a very interesting championship 4. However, will Phoenix be the same as today? Not so much. And why is that? Well, we have hot temperatures of 84 degrees on average, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. But when we go back there in November, it's going to be around 64 degrees Fahrenheit, usually around -20. That means the track will change. The grip will be different on how much you can get it, how you can use the grip. So be on the lookout for that. But as for the track, it stays the same. It's a constant. Drivers like Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson might have the advantage. Harvick won here 9 times. But other drivers, such as Kyle Busch, who's starting to finally get a hold of Phoenix, is making the run as well. Denny Hamlin, who won last year. And other drivers like Martin Truex Jr., who still haven't found victory at this track, are stepping into the waters here, testing the waters.
Talking about Phoenix, I think this is going to be a good race for Toyota to get back on track, because Toyota has had a very rough start to start the season. They're in Las Vegas. They were basically irrelevant, besides Martin Truex Jr., but even then Truex, he cut his tire and finished outside the top 10. Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch was basically irrelevant in Las Vegas. However, in Fontana, in the first half of the race, they weren't doing so hot, but they started to come on at the end of the race. So maybe that's some momentum that they can build. And I think Phoenix is a perfect track to do it at. When you have drivers like Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch who are just so strong at this racetrack. And, drivers like Martin Truex Jr., who, they're not the best at Phoenix, but they're starting to get a grip of it. Eric Jones, he's still trying to prove himself. And even someone like Christopher Bell, who dominated this track back down in the Xfinity Series. So I think this is going to be a very good race for Toyota to finally get back on track to what has otherwise been kind of a rough start to the season.
I mean, aside from their Daytona 500 win with Denny Hamlin, they've had some trouble backing it up. Hamlin had a rough go-around at Las Vegas. He had issues, and going into Fontana, he had fighting his own car. Started 28th, but he finished 6th because Denny Hamlin knows how to handle a bad car. We've seen this in the past. We've seen it last week, and he dominated the race last fall at Phoenix, scoring the win. So the door is wide open.
All right, so let's move on to, I guess, so we basically talked about most of what we're going to talk about at Phoenix. So this is a fairly short episode. So I guess we'll give you a look at the point standings now. The point standings don't really matter now, so we'll give you a look at the point standings, top 5 in standings. So Ryan Blaney is your points leader. On the contrary to what people believe, saying this is the first time he's led the points. He led the point standings after the 2018 Daytona 500. I'm just going to say that. And then in second is his teammate Joey Logano. And third, we have Fontana winner Alex Bowman. Fourth is Kevin Harvick, who's the only driver to finish top 10 in all 3 races so far this season. And in fifth place is good old 7-time champ Jimmy Johnson, his swan song season. Interesting. No Toyotas in the top 5. I believe this is the first time since 2017, or maybe even like going farther than that, where Toyota isn't in the top 5 points at this point in the season. And if you just want to scroll the rest of the top 10, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola right now, your top 10 in points.
So that means Denny Hamlin is the only Joe Gibbs Racing driver inside the top 10 of the championship. So right now, but if you look further down, second highest on that list, Martin Truex Jr., 13th. Third highest on that list, Eric Jones and Kyle Busch, third and fourth, 18th and 19th. So they're stepping it up. They're just slowly crawling up to there. Up to the top 5 in points, top 10. Don't be surprised if they make it up as a contender. I think, in my opinion, though, Ryan Blaney has the best start of the season. Although he finished one top 10 at Daytona, of course, nearly winning the 500. You go to Vegas, he almost won that race, but he capitalized on the stage points. Same with Fontana last week, the 19th place finish. But those stage points are, I think, more important than they've ever been in the last 3 seasons where we've had these stage points. Because it shows.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it shows because if you get the stage points and you may finish, let's say, top 15, outside that position, maybe top 20, you're still going to stay up there like Ryan Blaney, who only has one top 10 the entire season. You're still leading the points. You finished second at Daytona. You finished 11th in Vegas and 19th at Fontana. But you got the stage points, so you're still first in the standings. I think 2020 stage points will be more important than it's ever been. So I think, in my opinion, like you go down the points and you see drivers like Joey Logano, Alex Bowman. They have the same thing that Ryan Blaney has. One top 10. But where are they sitting? Second, third in the championship. Kevin Harvick is the highest driver in points that has all top 10s the entire season, and he's fourth. Yeah, so I apologize. Velocities, he took out for a little bit, so it's just me. So we'll keep talking about some NASCAR. So let's get into the NASCAR Xfinity Series real quick, and I'll run you down on what happened yesterday. For the LS Tractor 200, Brandon Jones scored his second career win driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, beating the best. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. He beat Kyle Busch. And Kyle Busch looked like, he had the car. It's just give me another win. He's had 11 here, right? Led 78 laps. Wrong. He got passed late in the race. Kyle had a terribly handling car, but knowing how Kyle Busch drives, he can drive pretty much any kind of car. Good, bad, loose, tight. Was able to manage it for a third place finish, but Harrison Burton got around him, got second place, and he's still in the points lead. So basically, the Xfinity Series is going to be a Joe Gibbs Racing show. Harrison Burton is the points leader, but just above by 3 because Chase Briscoe cashed in on the stage points, and Austin Cindric is third. They're the 2 competing Fords of the season. Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and then you go down the list. Brandon Jones is 4th. And Ross Chastain crawling up to 5th in the points. So great on his part. However, Riley Herbst took a dip. He's now 11th in the championship.
Sorry about that, folks. had a little bit of an issue. So Chad, thank you for carrying on as I was doing a little bit of something. So we basically talked about what we're going to talk about for Phoenix. So I guess we'll give this is a little bit of a shorter episode today. So I'm going to give you the top 5 in qualifying for the race at Phoenix today, and then you're going to give me who you think is going to take the checkered flag at the end of 312 laps. So Chase Elliott is the pole winner. In second place is the 9-time Phoenix winner, Kevin Harvick. Third place is last fall's winner, Denny Hamlin. Fourth is Kyle Larson, and fifth is your points leader, Ryan Blaney. So who do you think at the end of 312 laps, 312 miles, 500 kilometers is going to take the checkered flag in the desert?
This guy won here 9 times. He's a champion in the series. He's only won here once in the Ford. He won the last time they raced in the old layout. He's starting second today. That is Bakersfield, California's Kevin Harvick. He'll get number 10 today.
All right, you're gonna go with Kevin Harvick. I'm gonna go with our points leader. He's finished third at Phoenix in both races last year. He won the pole there for the 2017 Chase race, and I believe I think he did win the pole for the 2019 spring race too as well, if I'm not mistaken. So Ryan Blaney, I think, is finally going to get that first win of the season. It's going to come early. I think it comes here at Phoenix today.
Yeah, he's strong. He's had, in all the 3 races that happened leading up to Phoenix, he's had a legitimate shot to win. He has come very close at Daytona. And you know what? Ryan Blaney finished second in the 2017 Daytona 500. He led most of the laps in 2018. Got in a crash. 2019, fell through and had a hard time reappearing in the front. 2020, had his best opportunity yet. Still second. Vegas, leading most of the race. Late race caution comes out. Bad pit stop call from his crew chief, selling outside the top 10. Fontana had the car to beat. Tire goes down. Just the little things are causing Blaney not to win the race. I mean, aside from a bad call from his crew chief, there's no driver error from the 12 that I've pointed out really all season long. Usually while they're drivers, you can see where their shortcomings are. But as for the 12 car and that team, they're so strong. He should be out there. If Harvick doesn't win, I think the 12 will win. Ryan Blaney's just so consistent this year. However, I'm still going with Kevin Harvick. He's the closer. He knows how to get it done. He's won at this track 9 times. He's won all the layouts there is, all different kinds of cars, teams. He's going to win it again.
All right, folks. So that concludes this little short edition of NASCAR by the Numbers. Remember to tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock for the episode 49 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast, where we will recap the race at Phoenix along with any other races that happened during the weekend, along with the Xfinity race as well.
F1 fans, you want to watch this tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say. Want to watch that podcast tomorrow? We're going to talk a lot about Formula One, so definitely tune in on that.
All right, so just throw in your social media handle, all that good stuff, and we'll be heading out.
That's right. Go ahead. Give me a follow on Twitter at JLP Snipes.
All right. I haven't done this in a long time, so let's see if I still got it. Follow me on Twitter, VelocityXCC. Follow me on Instagram, VelocityXCC. Follow us on Twitter, WR Media Group. Follow us on YouTube, obviously, at World Racing Media. Follow us on Instagram at World Racing Media. Follow us on Facebook at World Racing Media. And thank you guys so much for tuning into this edition of NASCAR by the Numbers. And we'll see you next week when we head to Atlanta.